Now, over the course of the past couple of months, we have seen that both Jon and Dave have been very much vocal and direct with the overall fandom, really teasing and hinting a lot of things that will arrive on, of course, Disney Plus and the entire Star Wars roadmap, things ranging from Mando Season 3 and 4 to Ahsoka and a whole lot more as well. That's really going to lend a lot of credit to itself of reviving Star Wars Legends. Now, about the Skywalker Saga, there's a lot of changes coming to the canon of the saga, and we're going to be talking about exactly what Favreau and Filoni had to say about all of this. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, that brings us to where we are today. Now, given that it's already basically the middle of January, a little bit past that, and we're getting closer to March 1st, a very special day. That is the day that Mando Season 3 drops on Disney Plus. And that's really going to be the beginning of everything, of how Jon and Dave are really going to be reviving, Legends and reviving a lot of the beloved stories from the 1990s and the 2000s, stuff like that, and how it's going to coexist with the Disney canon. Now, with that being all said, we already know that Favreau and Filoni have big plans for the Skywalker Saga, not just retcons, but also literally resetting the saga in big ways that's really going to transform the overall timeline. And we'll elaborate a little bit more on that in a second. Now, with that being said, we already know that George Lucas is really helping out both Jon and Dave to really kind of stabilize the franchise, to really bring it back to its roots. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of fans are skeptical about when it comes to Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, because that's all done by Kathleen Kennedy. But I digress. However, with both Jon and Dave Filoni currently creating many retcons toward the sequel trilogy films to give it a new meaning to the fans, they are also planning on, of course, resetting the Skywalker Saga for the community to erase the current Disney plans for the canon that's going to be overtaken with tons of Legends stories and more. Both Favreau and Filoni were able to tease fans about their plans on resetting the Skywalker Saga. Now, Favreau first went on to state the following to the fans. This is something that we have been working on for a while now, and talking with Disney on doing away with their old plans and visions for the Skywalker Saga canon and how giving it a fresh start would be a better approach. We are going to be completely rewriting Luke Skywalker's history and what happens after Episode 6, and we'll also be refreshing something during and even before the prequels that tie directly into the Skywalker lineage. So let me just pause here for a second. So basically, Favreau's elaborating on what they are doing. So this is not to say that they're erasing, the original trilogy or anything like that, but they're really resetting the saga. And what that essentially means is they are literally flipping the script of many of the characters' stories in different variations. So, for example, Disney had this set-in-stone plan, right? That Luke never had a child, Luke never had a love life, or even a wife at that. Luke never was able to break free of the old Jedi ways, where you cannot love, you cannot fall into relationships, you cannot marry, stuff like that. A lot of that is now being completely cancelled and being rewritten in the lore and the canon, and they're giving us the old Luke back. They're also going to be extending the Skywalker lineage, something that initially Disney deemed as never happening. And basically, Disney initially made a canon that there were no more Skywalkers after Ben Solo, and that was it. So now they're redoing everything with the Skywalker Saga and the lineage, the family tree, the bloodline, stuff like that. And Jon really elaborates further on that. We'll tap into that in a minute. However, is this really going to be enough to really make the fans all the more excited? I think yes, only if done and executed correctly. You can't just do this for the sake of doing it. It has to make sense, right? So that's exactly why they are finding new material and finding ways to make that mix in with the Legends material. And I think that's perfect. I think that's a great way to do it. We have seen this happen many times before in Mando Season 1 and 2. There's a lot of Legends elements in there. If you guys have read pretty much every single book or every single comic out there throughout your life, you'll see all these little things like nothing, like easy. And that's the great thing about knowing a lot about Legend, is that, you know, you can see all the references, all the little callbacks, all the little homages here and there. Now, moving on to the next thing, alright? So, further, Favreau goes on to make it clear that we are actually going to be adding to the Skywalker bloodline as well, something that Disney initially did not want to do, but we have been pitching our plans and they have been liking everything so far. Filoni then chimed in briefly, saying the following: "It's always been a dream of mine to expand all of Legends into live action, and that what we are going to start doing with The Mandalorian Season 3 and eventually Ahsoka, and how that ties into the Skywalkers is truly fascinating. We can't wait for everyone to see what we have to offer." So, apart from all of this, there's a lot of other things happening too. We already know that not only are they going to be literally transforming the sequel trilogy movies and the canon by giving us special editions, adding in a lot of deleted scenes and adding on to existing scenes with, you know, CGI inserts or some kind of additional, you know, inserts as well, that's going to give the films a fresh restart as well. But it's not just about that, it's also about really just changing the timeline, what really happens between Episode 6 and 7, during the prequels, before the prequels, and how it all lends to the Skywalker lineage, the family tree, that will be expanded now. And that, I think, is more than exciting enough to be really kind of putting all the faith in Jon and Dave. Now, Jon and Dave, let's not forget, Jon Favreau made it very clear that he read so much Legends material in the 1990s when he was really getting into the film industry and really kind of making his way. I think that when you look at it like this, he is a true fan. If you guys watch some of his older films like Swingers and stuff like that, he makes a couple of references to Star Wars. So it's not like he's just doing this because he was hired by Disney. Let's just make that clear. This guy is a true fan. This is a guy that was referencing Star Wars in Swingers in the 1990s. I mean, that's how far back he goes as a fan. Maybe even before that. So, when you look at it like this, guys, there's a lot of great things coming out of this. I think that Jon and Dave are going to do amazing things. The Mando Season 3 trailer was perfect. It was laid out very well. You know, we got a couple of reveals here and there, not too much. There wasn't too many reveals in there that were, like, mind-blowing, so they kind of held back on giving too much away, which I did respect. The one thing I did like was how they showed us, or hinted at, who's behind that door in that Order 66 flashback. But I digress. You know, the thing about all of this is that they are set and making it concrete that the Skywalker lineage and the saga is being reset and rewritten in history. So overall, I would really like to hear what each and every one of you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.